think last week Denise banged it with a pen, but that didn't really work very well.
I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you believe or don't believe, you are welcome. I'm blessed to see so many very lovely and familiar faces, faces I don't know, and faces I don't know well. If you're here for the first time, your first few times, I extend a hearty, glad welcome to each of you. If this has been your home for many visits, you too matter, and your contributions have helped ensure this church continues for the ones who have not found their way here yet. I'd like right now for all of you to turn to someone near you, look them in the eye, and say, "You are welcome."
You are welcome.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be surrounded today by three incredible women, Maria, Judy, and Della. Kind of makes this day a little extra special for me to be surrounded by such incredible people. At this time, I'd like to introduce our worship associate today, Maria Wallace.
Wow, I've never gotten an introduction before as worship associate. Woo! Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to see you this morning. I know there are a lot of competing things going on this weekend that would bring you not to church, like World Cup soccer. So thank you for showing up and being here. And if you're not here, my husband is here, and he's really obsessed with the World Cup. So shame on all. Oh, he's got it live streamed. If you need a score update, Ben Wallace is on it. Welcome, everybody, especially if you are new. In the summertime, we often have things that are completely different every week, since it's when we don't have a minister, our regular minister in the pulpit. Right now, we don't have a regular minister at all. Our minister is in the middle of moving to Omaha right now, and she was spotted around town the other day. So we are very excited to welcome Reverend Michelle LaGrave here starting in August, and we can't wait to meet her and her husband in person. If you are fairly new to the church, I want to make sure you know that we have coffee hour after the service, which is where you can find a lot of interesting people to talk to, and maybe some not so interesting, but I do my best, you guys. So if you are fairly new, you can signify that by taking a blue mug. That means it's kind of a beacon to those of us who are a little bit more introverted that you are welcoming conversation and getting to know some of us a little bit better and a little bit more about Unitarian Universalism. Please do sign in on those pink sheets in the pews. Helps us know who is here and who is not here. Make sure to get your parking ticket validated downstairs. The machine is very finicky, so don't give up. I want to highlight a few things from the announcements. There are quite a few things to get involved with here in the summertime. If you are here for Carrie's First Steps class today, please let her know, because she's in the back there. Please touch base with her right after the service. She doesn't know if anybody's here for that class, so Carrie needs friends. And she's great to hang out with, so. I want to make sure, if you are new, if you're old, if you're in the middle, you're invited to join any of these activities in your announcements. The Pride Parade plans are gearing up, so please look at all of these. It's like, how do I highlight some and not all of them? Well, I'm going to give a shout out to this yellow sheet of paper, which talks about the promise and the practice of our faith campaign, which kicked off with a Justice pulpit from Mary Kay Peters last week. And we have a new series of Justice pulpits going on this summer. I don't think I can say anything more about the announcements because they're all important. Please read them. But segueing to, I don't know, that's okay, sorry. Wow, all right. So please read all the announcements. They're all very exciting. It's hard not to read all of them to you. But in body or spirit, next, I'm going to ask you to rise and join in singing Spirit of Life 2 times. Next, we have the fabulous BB to read our story for all ages.
Did I get it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Everybody young or young at heart? Oh, thank you, Anthony. I'm going to sit down with Anthony. Oh, and a baby. Okay, so my name is BB, and Kate, Miss Wig, is, who knows what she's doing, taking a day off. And she's on a cruise? Ooh, jealous. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story about 2 lumberjacks, all right? And this is the perfect story for me to tell because I grew up in Oregon, and there's like a lot of lumberjacks. So, it's about the annual lumberjack competition, and there's 2 men left at the very finale. There's an older, more experienced lumberjack, and there's a younger, strong lumberjack, but with not as much experience. And the final contest was for them to chop down as many trees as they can in a 24-hour period. So both these men, they go off into the forest, and they start chopping down trees. And the young guy's like chopping down trees. And the older guy, you could hear him in the other side of the forest chopping those trees down. But, you know, periodically, every once in a while, you wouldn't hear any chopping. And the younger man starts to think, oh my gosh, you know, he stopped. I think I'm going to win. I'm totally going to win this. So he starts chopping harder and faster, and he just keeps going and going and going. And, you know, he still, every once in a while, he's not hearing any sound from the other side of the forest, and he just starts to get, you know, more and more confident that he's going to beat that old guy. And so at the end of the competition, 24-hour period has gone by, and the young guy's tired and looks all haggard and gross, and you know, but he gets up on the stage and he's convinced. He's like, I've got this. I mean, he's old, I'm young, you know, come on. And the judge had gone out into the forest and counted all the trees they had chopped down, and stands up and he grabs the microphone. He goes, all right, I have to announce the winner, and I'm proud to announce it's the old lumberjack. He won. And he's like smiles and just takes it and says thank you. And the young lumberjack gets angry and he goes, what? What do you mean he won? How did you win? You've been stopping all that time. I'm young, I'm strong, you're old. You can't win. I should have won. He goes, how did you do it? You know, how did you do that? And the old lumberjack goes, well, you know, every hour I stopped and I sharpened my axe and took a rest. And so the lumberjack's all upset, and he just stomps off, and the old lumberjack takes his trophy, thanks everyone, and walks off with a smile. So what do you think the moral of this story could be? Oh, go ahead. What did she say? Can anybody hear it? Yeah. That's true. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that one. That's a good one. That is actually really true. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean you're not working, because, you know, I'm married to an accountant. He doesn't make a lot of noise. So yes, that is part of it. And the other part could be, sometimes the best thing you could do is have some experience and think about what you need to do before you just do it. You know, come at it. It's not always important just to work hard. It's important to work hard, but it's also important to work smart. So, and you could apply that in your lives in like homework, you know, chores. How can I get this done in an efficient way that I can get it done and get it done fast, but done well, so I don't have to redo it? That always sucks. So, all right, that was the story of the two lumberjacks. Thank you, Kate Wigg. What am I supposed to do next? All right, I think we're supposed to go up and light the chalice, right? Oh, thank goodness. Come on. You want to light it? All right, and don't blow it out. Okay. We got it. And we're supposed to, oh, and there's a new, you have it? I'm going to let Mary wall it.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Next, we welcome Mark Leskatoff to share a justice pulpit with us.
Good morning, my friends. I admit that I've been affected by the racialized water that we're all swimming in. Antidotes include reading the Omaha Star newspaper, books such as Waking Up White and The New Jim Crow, attending classes and discussion groups here at church. But there's no substitute for face-to-face interaction with people from the other side of the racial divide. So I go to school. I go to Wakanda Elementary School one afternoon per week to learn from people who are different from myself. Most of them are much younger than myself. Most of them are from a different racial and ethnic category than myself. I learned, for instance, from the boy who showed me a sweet letter that he had written to his father, whom he hadn't seen in 3 years because he's in prison. Or from a girl who couldn't see clearly the numbers on her math worksheet because she had lost her glasses 2 years previous. But it's not just for myself. I believe that I'm helping kids to grow up into successful adults, and also helping teachers who do a critical and challenging job. So I invite anyone here who is willing and able to join Steve Davis, Bob Hess, Suzanne King, and myself this fall in volunteering to tutor at Wakanda Elementary School. And at this time, since we have an intimate group here, I'd like to do a trust exercise / anonymous poll for the first time that I've seen here at church. Here's how it works. Everybody closes their eyes, except me. Then I ask a question, and if the answer is affirmative, you raise your hand. Then you lower your hands, and you can open your eyes, okay? So the question is, so everybody close your eyes. Question is, how many of you might, and this is not a commitment, might be willing and able to volunteer as a tutor at Wakanda this fall? Okay, lower your hands. Open your eyes. Thank you very much.
As you join me, it is the church that assures us that we're not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community.
The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done.
Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed.
Thank you, Mark. Next is the time in our service when we share of our monetary offerings. Each month we have a Share the Plate partner who we share the offerings with. This month it's NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and as always the Change for Change goes to the Sunday School youth, and they're deciding exciting new things, so read the back of your order of service too. Please give generously.
Open mine eyes that I may see glimpses of truth thou hast for me. Open mine eyes, illumine me, Spirit Divine love of my life, I am crying, I am not dying, I am dancing, dancing alone in the madness. There is no sadness, only a song of the soul, and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. What do you do for your living? Are you forgiving, giving shelter? Follow your heart, love will find you, truth will unbind you, and sing out a song of the soul, and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. Come to your life like a warrior, nothing will bore you. You can be happy. Let in the light, it will heal you, and you can feel you, and sing out a song of the soul, and we'll sing this song. Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. And we can sing for a long, long time.
The reading is by Rachel Naomi Remen. We are, in a certain way, defined as much by our potential as it is by expression. There is a great difference between an acorn and a little bit of wood carved into an acorn shape, a difference not always readily apparent to the naked eye. The difference is there, even if the acorn never has the opportunity to plant itself and become an oak. Remembering its potential changes the way in which we think of an acorn and react to it, how we value it. If an acorn were conscious, knowing its potential would change the way that it might think and feel about itself. Perhaps a sense of possibility is communicated by our own tone of voice, facial expression, or a certain choice of words.
Come wanting, come full, come burdened, come savvy. Come longing, come drifting. Come as one, leave from many. Come the first time or many. Leave knowing peace, love, and compassion. I invite us all to just pause for a moment and think about what has happened in your last week, at home, at work, at school, in the world, with your family, your friends, your co-workers, animals, nature. Some of it was good, wasn't it? Some of it was a little fun. And some of it was heavy and hard. I invite you to close your eyes and pause for a moment and think about someone you love deeply. Think of how beautiful they are, how loved they are, how worthy they are of all that is good. And now, consider the same for yourself. Let us all take a deep breath in and out. That was the sermon. An inmate received a letter from his spouse. I've decided to plant some lettuce in the back garden. When is the best time to plant them? The inmate, knowing the jail staff would read all the mail, replied in a letter, My dear, whatever you do, do not touch the back garden. That's where I hid the box. A week or so later, he received another letter from his spouse. She wrote, You wouldn't believe what happened. Some men came with shovels and dug up the whole backyard. The inmate wrote back, Dear wife, now is the best time to plant the lettuce. Kate Wigg is watching this via stream, and I told her that I'd say hi to her and remind her that I'm missing her as much as she's missing us. So, hi, Kate. We can say hi, Kate. Hi, Kate. Forgive yourself. Don't compete with yourself. I'm going to share with you that when I had the idea for this message over a month ago, I'll tell you today that my head and heart are in very different places, and that'll all make sense here in a couple of hours when I get done preaching. Just joking. We all have times in our life where people will be ready to let you know what is wrong with you. We all have times in our life that we're not sure if we are a real acorn or a hand-carved one. We all have times in our lives that we have opportunities to be change makers, angelic troublemakers, and agents of compassion. And in the tens of thousands of days most of us will live, we'll have plenty of moments that we don't get it right. We are not our best selves, and we will encounter situations and people that are difficult. If it won't matter in 5 years, give it 5 minutes and move on. If it won't matter in 5 years, give it 5 minutes and move on. Gandhi reminded us the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. It can be overwhelming to live in a culture where we are taught to dress or look or act or think this way. And sometimes that way isn't our way. What is taught in schools, what laws have been made, how we treat each other, contributes to our society, our culture, and how others may think and feel about themselves, not to mention how we as a nation or a community or a church react to each other. I submit today that forgiveness is something that not too many in this room are really good at. I'm not saying you don't forgive with words. I'm including myself in this. I'm calling the question of forgiveness changes how we live and how we move forward. In the book Chicken Soup for the Baseball Fan's Soul, author Mary Owen tells a story of a little league t-ball player whose parents were watching the game, and the coach was just really mean to the kids and yelling at them for not winning and not getting a point or not catching or not doing something right, just yelling at them. And they wondered why. Well, one day, while playing a game, a 6-year-old took the bat in his t-ball game. Each batter in t-ball is allowed 6 tries. The crowd was large. The energy was worthy of Wrigley Field. I'm pretty impressed that I knew that. Point of reference. And he swung, strike 1. Someone yelled, "You can do it." He swung again, strike 2. His parents yelled, "You can do it." He swung. Strike 3. The crowd is now chanting and cheering for him. He swung. Strike 4. The parents yelled out, and most others at this time had lost interest in return talking to each other and kind of ignored him. And he swung. And he hit the ball. And he immediately ran right to third base. Everyone's yelling, "No, no, no, no." So he understood that he did something wrong, and then he ran to the next base. Well, it wasn't really a base, it was the pitcher's mound. And he triumphantly jumped as if he had arrived where he was supposed to, and everyone's still yelling at him. The third baseman dropped his mitt and his ball and went to the pitcher's mound and took him by the hand and took him to first base. At this point, the crowd was on their feet and yelling. I've been that little boy running to the third base, especially the time that I spent 120 days incarcerated. To this day, I'm not sure that I've forgiven myself. I think I've blessed myself. "Oh, Royal, you're a good guy and you do some good things." And don't worry about that. That was 15 years ago. And yet people close to me can point out where my own forgiveness has not been fully given, and I've not allowed myself permission to change how I truly move and feel and move forward. There was a point last night that I visited with Della and Nadine at last night's RCMC concert. and my eyes watered when I saw their beautiful, sweet faces and smiles. This weekend's a bit emotional for me. Last month, I went to Birmingham, Alabama, to present at a conference to neighborhoods on diverse neighbors, refugees, homeless, GLBT folks. Most of the folks that attend this conference are black evangelical folks. It's the makeup of the conference, and it was well received. On the way there, I watched the Netflix movie Come Sunday about Bishop Carleton Pearson, who was ostracized by his church for saying that gay people are welcome in the church and that you don't need to accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior to go to heaven. He's now a a minister at All Souls in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So since I was there, I decided I would drive to Montgomery, to the new National Memorial for Peace and Justice. But I wasn't prepared for what I'd experience. There are over 4,400 names of people that have been lynched in this country. And there's a marker for Douglas County for the two that were lynched here. Our last one in 1919, Will Brown. And to see those names, to see a glass casket of dirt taken from the sites believed where some of these lynchings took place, was a lot to absorb. And forgiveness was not a word in my repertoire. If that wasn't enough, I drove to Selma. And I walked the bridge. I stood on the sidewalk where so many others did. And what I first felt wasn't peace. I felt people being beat. I felt dogs biting people. And I didn't feel forgiveness. And I drove back to Birmingham, and I visited the 16th Street Baptist Church, and I touched some of the concrete that still had black soot on it from the bomb. Yesterday, I walked in the Juneteenth parade, and I twerked, and it's on Facebook. I'm not lying. Last night, RCMC's concert was just so incredible, and I knew the trajectory of some of my words today would not be the same after it. So after the last 30 days of my life, I can painfully say, hello, my name is Royal Carleton. I'm a credentialed and ordained minister. I'm married. I'm gay. I like cheeseburgers. And my privilege as a white person was built on the backs of the ancestors of people of color in this country, and I'm not sure how in my life I can say that I wasn't raised and educated with some racist values. Those are my words, and I'm not asking or telling you they should be your words. I grew up in a country that was founded on slave labor. I grew up in religions that promoted slavery at some time in their history. I grew up in a country that ended slavery as we knew it, only to enact laws that continued it in a different form through mass incarceration, redlining for unequal housing zoning, inequality for pay, new Jim Crow laws, and I have to mention the brutality and violence and murder that has gone unanswered since the beginning of time. I grew up being educated with words and stories and history that was written through the lens of white people and not those involved in the narrative. I would love to see a history book that includes truths and histories from the indigenous people of this country, from the people of color of this country, from the LGBTQ people of this country. Racist. The belief that all members of a race possess characteristics, abilities, and qualities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as an inferior or superior to another race or races. On some level, how can my upbringing not have made me a racist in some way? Am I a sign-carrying white supremacist? Nope. And neither are the people that I'm surrounded by. And yet on some level, our upbringing, our education, our ability as white people to sit and be comfortable in our own lives while others do not have that same opportunity to do so implies that all of us haven't got it right yet. Maybe it's implicit bias. Maybe I just need to believe that I had nothing to personally do with it in history. Maybe since I know black people, I can just say that I'm an ally, I can sleep better at night. I find comfort in some of our UU principles and other texts. The inherent worth and dignity of every person. Justice, equality, and compassion in human relations. Acceptance of one another. The goal of the world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. The respective existence for which we're all a part of. Let us do unto others as we would have them do unto us. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Charter for Compassion. And what happened to Christianity? I don't recognize today's version mostly. I know I got quick heavy, and for that I won't apologize. Until we pause to think about how we're very fortunate, lucky, and privileged for not being people of color in this country, this state, and the social justice of this very church will not change, grow, or evolve until we make some truths known. Where do we go and what do we do? Well, we're going to take one more step. We're going to say one more word, one more prayer, and we're going to sing one more song. So a few things I have to close with. Be you, unapologetically you, be authentically you, have faith in you, no matter who you are, where you're from, who you love, what you believe, what you don't believe. Never give up. As we attempt to get it right, we will attempt to right our wrongs as we try to bend the arc of history towards justice. We must not, we cannot, and we should not give up. For ourselves and each other, or those walking the journey behind us, it's our job to keep that hope alive. And these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Perhaps the greatest lesson we can learn, teach, and repeat is to love others without stopping to inquire if they're worthy or not. And hopefully they'll do the same for us. We need to love our neighbors, the homeless neighbors, the Muslim neighbors, the black neighbors, the gay neighbors, the immigrant neighbors, the transgender neighbors, the Jewish neighbors, the Christian neighbors, the Unitarian neighbors, the atheist neighbors, the disabled neighbors, the addicted neighbors, the homeless neighbors, and the struggling neighbor. Faith, hope, and love mean absolutely nothing if we don't share them. It requires us to get out of our comfort zones, stop allowing hate and racism and inequity to be so damn normal. We must make it our personal mission that talking the talk is as bad as being silent. We have to walk the walk to make change happen, especially when no one else is walking. Forgiveness is a genuine compassion for those who have wronged us. It allows us to move from the past instead of allowing stress, anger, and bitterness to consume us. Equality, and perhaps more important, is learning to acknowledge our own mistakes and to forgive ourselves. Self-forgiveness is often the first step towards a more loving and positive relationship with yourself and therefore with all the others around you. I hope that we sang, shared, or made a word that you will think about your life and how you connect to others. Let us be mindful of the history and the mistakes of this country, this church, and our own lives. Let us think about the work that is before each and every single person in this room to create equity for every human being in this world, this community, and in this church. And when we sing our next hymn, bring each other hope, sing with each other, share your dreams together, walk in life with one another, and share the beauty of the rose with each other, especially the ones that you don't know well or the ones you consider the other. Thank you. And if you would all stand in mind or body or spirit or all the above, we're going to sing hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song With Me. You may be seated. I made a note earlier and I forgot to say Happy Pride Month, Happy Father's Day, and Happy Juneteenth. So if you're celebrating one or all of those things, let's just give a round of applause for everybody. It's no secret that Ben Wallace is my brother. And when he spoke these words a couple years ago, they've always resonated with me, and they resonated with me today. We build on foundations we did not lie. We warm ourselves at fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from the persons we do not know. Together, we are more than any one person could be. Together, we can build across the generations. Together, we can renew our hope and faith in the life that is yet to unfold. Together, we can heed a call for a ministry of peace, love, and compassion. We are forever bound in community together. May peace, love, and compassion be with you, and most importantly, in this pastor's opinion, let it be from you. I love you, and I hope you do too.